Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Our video opens with a story about a guy working quietly behind the scenes, keeping an entire office running while management took credit for the wins and dumped the failures on him. But when the company's golden boy tried to report him for laziness, he forgot one thing: paper trails don't lie. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. I'm going to be president. Sure you are. Background. I joined this Japanese-based company a few years ago as a production assistant. I wasn't assisting anyone in production. I was the only American, the only one fully fluent in both languages. Still am. Still looking for a better line of work, so I ended up helping everyone else in some fashion or another. Well, I also had to do my own work, of course, but when things shipped behind schedule, it was made out to be my fault. I helped our shipping manager send things out and receive them, count, quality check them, weigh the boxes, palletize them, etc. Our sales manager, the man himself in question, constantly asked me to double-check his emails so he sounded more natural and professional, and even had me get involved on numerous occasions to help him save face or placate customers. Event. From the time that I started, we'd been struggling to keep time because of inventory issues. The issues were both because our customer didn't keep accurate numbers and neither did we. Not just for the parts they sent us for assembly, but also for the boxes we used to package the order before shipping. Boxes I used and only I used. Boxes I was not allowed to order, but had to ask Mr. Sales Manager to order for me. Well, he'd forget to order them, and then I'd remind him, and he'd forget again, only ordering days later. It happened enough times that our customer finally demanded we count up our inventory. I made an Excel sheet, made it legible in both English and Japanese, color-coded areas of concern, and I also added everything we used in the office, from boxes only used by shipping to gloves to the parts from our biggest customer, as they were demanding we count. Everything got counted. Everything was put in that document, and I made sure to include a field of when it was last counted. Result. Suddenly we're making good time and getting ahead, and I don't have to worry about boxes. Now, this entire time, Mr. Sales was working on a 20-page document that proved our president didn't do his job, trying to report him to the JP home office and get him fired. My two coworkers got a glimpse of it and saw there were sections on all of us too, bad-mouthing our work, trying to make it seem like only Mr. Sales was on the up and up. Finally, the JP parent company sends someone. This guy is unknown to all of us, the son-in-law of the company owner of a family-owned and run company. Pretty common in Japan. Well, only I and our shipping manager learn of this since we actually talked to the guy, but Mr. Sales likes to treat him like a goof and poke fun at him. This guy JP sent us. He carefully plans meetings with us for while Mr. Sales is out of the office and interviews all of us about what's been up at our USA branch. Our late shipments come up, and my pattern of shipping late and insulting our biggest customer with my laziness. There's also reports of me being on my phone too much, preoccupied watching videos or listening to music and not working. I start pulling out the emails and the inventory I was told to create. I show him the inventory history and my emails asking for Mr. Sales to do his job from before it was made. I show him the ship dates and the differences before and after I made the inventory file. Fallout. A friend of mine in Japan is suicidal, and I'd lost contact with him a few times. I decided to go to Japan and help him out, try to live there, but at best I have 6 months of savings. That means I have to leave the company. I know this guy from JP is going to arrive and all Mr. Sales' delusions of being USA branch president will die, but I couldn't be there to see it. So I went to Japan, spent my 6 months successfully. Friend re-entered college to chase his dreams. Instead of being a dead-eyed salaryman, he's on the mend, and returned to the US a few months ago. I get in contact with the company and they rehire me. Now that I'm here, I learned Mr. Sales quit shortly after I left, but not before he aired every last thing he'd told me would stay between us and take all but a literal dump on my desk. I checked my old inventory file. He'd zeroed it out. The company has been shipping late again, hired a new guy to do my job that's been getting parts returned to fix errors numerous times, something that only happened to me once. Do they want me to fix any of that? No. Here's a book of local businesses. Call them. Drum up customers. Oh, okay. Can do. Thanks for the paycheck for doing something so easy that won't ever work, I guess. Wow, this definitely does not surprise me in the least. Company repeating the same mistakes? And our next story. Ma'am, it's called The Street. You don't own it. I work a job that requires me to care for lawns. The way my company operates is that I pull up to a customer's house, usually in front of the lawn section. I need to make sure that, 1, I'm not blocking a fire hydrant or mailbox, as this is literally illegal and would get me into a massive amount of legal trouble even if I'm there for just a few minutes. 2, I'm not blocking the customer's driveway or a neighbor's driveway. And 3, the door to access my equipment is on the correct side, the right side, preferably away from the street. I'm allowed about 10 minutes for anything under 5,000 square feet in total, and I usually have 25 plus stops in a day. Yes, this is as hectic as it sounds. I typically start work around 7 a.m. and don't finish until 4:30 or 5 p.m. The worst part is that my company is currently in its slow season, so being fast and efficient is crucial if I want to get home at a decent time. To be clear, I walk, climb hilly terrain, climb stairs, and push a 20 to 40-pound seed spreader on almost every type of rough terrain you can think of, and this comes with the side effect of walking about 15 to 20 miles a day. How I wish this was an exaggeration. As I pulled my work truck into the cul-de-sac, I noticed that I had 2 stops almost right next to each other, on the same street and the same side of the road. This is uncommon, but it does happen from time to time, and it's greatly appreciated because it means less driving throughout the day for me. The 2 houses were right next to each other, except for their neighbor, whose house looked sandwiched between the 2 much larger homes. This meant that I wouldn't have to put my equipment up after I finished with the first house and could instead move directly to the other house, saving about 15 minutes of loading and unloading. The first house had a fire hydrant in front of it, and the other house had a mailbox for the neighborhood. The Karen's house had nothing in front of it and conveniently had a gravel section where one could park a car off the street. However, because I've been in situations where customers don't like us using those gravel patches, I went ahead and parked next to it on the street itself. Fast forward. I'm heading from the first house to the other client's home after finishing up, and I see a small woman with a very annoyed expression on her face. I wasn't expecting anything from her and thought that she wanted to ask me a question about what I was doing to her neighbor's lawn. This happens a lot. But instead, I was almost immediately yelled at for parking your truck in front of my house for a 3rd time, as well as comments such as, "How many times do I have to tell you not to park here?" I've been working with this company for almost a year, and rarely, outside of a few brief conversations, I've never had a problem with anyone. If someone asked me to not park somewhere, I would make a note in the instructions and make sure that future technicians didn't repeat the same mistakes. Sometimes people ask you to move out of the way or to a different spot because they're picky about parking spots and idling trucks on their lots. Again, this takes all of 5 seconds and isn't a big deal. So after listening to her near nonstop rambling and yelling, I simply replied, "Of course, that's not a problem, ma'am. I'll make a note in the instructions so this doesn't happen again. I'm sorry for the inconvenience." She replies, "Well, good. Make sure you don't park in front of my house anymore." After a few more back and forths where she's just repeating, "Don't park here anymore," she walks away, and I think that's the end of it. At this point, I can see that the other customer's yard is small, and I think it'll take me 5 minutes tops. This is where I messed up. I think because she never explicitly asked me to move to a different place, she only asked me not to park there next time. I figured I could just quickly finish that lawn and thus went off to do exactly that. Because I was a bit behind in my schedule, I thought it'd be unnecessary to load up my equipment and then take it back out again. I figured I'd only be a few minutes, so it should be fine, right? After finishing the lawn, which took about 6 minutes tops, I went back to load up my equipment, which only took about 30 seconds. Unloading and refilling take significantly longer. I sat back in my truck and started printing out the receipts for the client's lawns. As I'm doing this, the Karen comes back up to me, this time on the phone with someone and visibly pissed. When I say she was angry, I'm not joking either. She looked exactly like an over-aggressive chihuahua when it's angry, and she was literally shaking. From anger, I assume? She started to scream at me this time, which really caught me off guard because, again, I'm not on her property, only in front of it. Before she could start her rant, I called out with my dumb smile, "Don't worry, I'm printing the receipts and then I'm leaving. Just give me 30 seconds. Redditors, this was not the correct thing to say. She rushed up to the side of my truck with a face that looked like she would murder me if given the chance. She started flying off the handle and screaming loudly, "No, you will move now. Not later, not in a minute, now. This is the third time I've talked to you about doing this, and I won't stand for it anymore. I shouldn't have to waste my precious time for a third time just because an idiot like you can't pay attention." Me, very confused, just replied back, "I'm sorry, ma'am, that you've gone through that, but this is the first time I've ever been to your neighbor's house. You may have spoken with a different tech about—" She cuts me off, shaking even harder somehow and screaming, No, I don't care if this is your first time here. This is unacceptable. I don't pay for your service and you shouldn't be parked in front of my house." At this point, I'm finally realizing her slight insanity and got out of my truck to go deliver the receipts. I had to get closer to her since she was standing right next to my truck. She yelled at someone who I assumed was a support person for my company or something, saying, "Oh my God, sir, he got out of his truck and approached me aggressively." At this, I just rolled my eyes and quickly went to deliver the first receipt. Because I had to cross by her to get to the other house, I heard her once again screaming like a banshee about how, "You will not leave later, you'll leave now." As calmly as I could, I said, "Ma'am, please calm down. I'm just going to hang these receipts on the doors, and then I'll leave." "Look, you're so angry that you're literally shaking. Just calm down for a second, and I'll leave immediately." She did not like this answer and went on about how I was being rude and aggressive with her, and then out of nowhere she tells me, "I will not calm down. How dare you? You're leaving right now or I'm calling the police." I sighed, hopped into my truck, still holding the other receipt, and turned it on to leave. All the while, she stared daggers at me, still shaking like crazy. I literally did not have time for this. I'll admit I was a little petty here. I looked her in the eyes, grinned my widest smile, waved to her, and said, "Have a great day, ma'am," as sarcastically as I could, and then sped off. Great story. It has all the right elements of a Karen encounter, and the way you handled it at the end was glorious. You turned a potentially frustrating situation into something that can make for an amusing and satisfying memory. Thanks for sharing. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.